Hey guys, here's the gear for today. Vitos Extra Super Cocoa is a soap I got from Connaught Shaving, and this is their 100 milliliter sample container. I got a feeling it's going to last a long time. It's an inexpensive soap. The few times I've used it, I've been really happy with the performance. Recently I used the Vitos Supercrema, and so this is the other option that I got. I also recently used this Feather AS-D2 stainless steel razor, and I had a 10-use feather blade that I used in it. And I decided, let's get a brand new feather blade. And I have my Stirling High Mountain White brush, and as you can see, something different. I put an O-ring at the base of the knot, in effect, changing the loft by about 2.5–3 millimeters, shortening the loft. It's been soaking. Let's get that back in the soak water. These tips, though, they don't really gel or anything, so it doesn't need too much soak time. But it's a big knot, even though it's just 24 millimeters. Now, feather blades are ornery sometimes in prying them out of the wax dots, that they adhere them to the little envelopes with. The first time obviously is the hardest, and I like to take it very carefully so that I don't hurt the edges or anything like that. And then once I do the 3, I can bend the paper away from the blade. See, the edges one time I saw somebody hold the blade like this and then pull the paper away with it all shut. And so the blade was kind of cutting its way out of the paper. I mean, do what you want. There's no hard and fast rules, right? But I think that would really kind of age your blade pretty quickly. All right, so got that guy out. And this blade was made for this razor, and maybe vice versa. Maybe I got a feeling the blade existed before this razor did, so maybe that's really more true than the other way around. So it's a satin finish stainless steel razor, and it felt nice the first time, although it wasn't super smooth the first pass when I shaved with it before on the 10-use blade. So let's see how it feels today with a brand new one. I have enjoyed it in the past. Maybe a year or 2 ago, I had this razor, this model razor, and I did end up selling it because it is kind of pricey, and I wanted to have the money more than the razor because I just have a bunch of others that I enjoy. All right, we have a jigger of 40 milliliters of water, 40 milliliters, which I guess is 8 total teaspoons, but I haven't needed all of that yet. And we put the feather blade in the razor. If we end up using a balm afterwards, then it's going to be Southern Paradise, a liniment from L&L Grooming. I've got my 3D lather bowl printed here. And then here is this is a pretty firm soap. It's fairly hard, and it's tough to put an indentation on it. I could with my fingernail if I wanted to, but you can see how it shrunk away from the sides just a little bit because I've had it for a year or 2 and have just used it maybe once or twice. A very light, pleasant scent. I think it'll open up more as we get it wet. All right, I think we're ready to go. I'm going to get my face wet, and then we'll load up the brush. Still got a little bit of a cough. Forgive me if a cough sneaks out on camera. This knot has so much room for water and so many bristles that it just holds a ton of water. All right. 25 seconds. Sounds good. We'll start at 55 on the mark there. seconds. We'll go to the 20 mark. I didn't pre-bloom the soap or anything, as you could see. The brush is flicking water around because we're not really, well, you know what, let's go longer, because that's 25 seconds right there, and we're just not, let's just kind of go by looks this time. 35 seconds. "45 seconds. There we go. 50 seconds. And we're getting some nice lather like that around. Let's just see if that'll be enough. You can rinse this away if you want, or kind of use it like a pre-shave. All right. 50 seconds of loading, I believe I said. And that's with a dry puck. If you were to use this same puck the next day, you could probably reduce your load time by 10 or 15 seconds. And this is kind of dry, so we'll start adding in some water. Not a whole lot of lather is kind of coming together yet. A couple different things you can do if you think it's too skimpy. You can keep adding some water that might be roughly the amount that you often add. And then if it's too thin, then you know that what happened initially was you didn't get enough water soap loaded onto the brush. And that's probably what happened this time. Starting on such a dry puck, with its big soft bristles, I just needed to work on it longer. Yeah, it looks like what we need to do. So I'm going to try to get some of the soap, the lather out. Put a little water in the brush. And then let's go for another 30 seconds or so, starting at the 05. At 80 seconds. If I do 30 seconds, then that'll be 80 seconds total of load. Okay, that's 20 seconds. Okay, so that's 80 seconds total load time. See how that works out. Now, since it's being a little slow to get started, what I can do is take that extra and just kind of put it in the bowl instead of on my face. If it's really super airy, then you're not really putting too much in the bowl. But if it looks concentrated, then that can definitely help you out. Alright, so see what happens now. We've got some more building up around the wall there, starting to look more like what we're used to. Other soaps are very similar to this. Hard soaps, Mitchell's Wool Fat, for instance. Even the softer ones, if you use them sequentially on concurrent days, then you can end up reducing your load time, because the moisture, a little bit of moisture will be resident in the soap, and it will help you to be able to really pick up the soap quicker as you kind of gain momentum with it. Can't remember if I mentioned, but today's shave is pretty normal, 24 hours of growth, roughly. Yeah, and there we go. This is a big brush. It could probably hold 2 passes of lather in it, and so we're going to have plenty to do the job, I think. I'm just going to mix a little bit more and make sure we get it homogenized and evenly spread around, so we don't have any wet spots or overly dry spots in the lather. I wonder if I'll be able to tell a difference with this shorter lofted brush here. This soap does have hydrogenated tallow, so it is a tallow soap. Doesn't have too many ingredients, and so some people like that about their soaps. All right, get my face, sprinkle a little bit of water on my face here, and then let's go. If I want even less loft on this, I can add another O-ring, kind of stack 2 of them on there. We've got some wet lather, as you can see. We've got pieces flying off. Or try to go a different direction than your normal. Right there, that's pretty awkward. So I switch back to my other way. On this one, it's still kind of awkward on that side too. If I go the opposite rotation. This lather feels pretty good. Spread it out evenly. I think we gave enough time for it to kind of bond with my skin, is how I like to put it. All right, feather, let's see what happens. Not going to focus on taking all the hair down at once. Yesterday, because of the kindness of the feather to my skin, I was able, in my really tricky spot next to my Adam's apple, to go against the grain. So I got a great, phenomenal close cut right there. I cannot do that with aggressive razors. And so this is a case where a mild razor allows me to get a closer cut than an aggressive one. How about that? Razor moving easily across my face. No tugging at all. Nice cutting. and a partial rinse and more lather. I'm definitely not detecting any negative experience associated with changing the loft of this brush. Lather just tremendous. Feels great. Cross grain now. I bet I'll have a smoother shave by tomorrow. The next time I use this razor blade. As so often, a burr that is put on there as a part of the manufacturing process is removed and smoothed out on the first pass, on the first use. And so often I've had razor blades feel better on second and third use than they do on the first. And time for another rinse. Yeah, so this lather is just perfect. Very happy with it. Perfect quantity too, as it turns out. I got enough to do the job. A little bit extra in case I botched something up, but not a lot extra. I'm going to go cross grain again on my face. And we've got some nice slickness that just is not having a problem with me going over that area quite a few times. Easy and smooth glide here. Nice, slick soap. So this is, what is this, the third pass? Yeah, I think so. And handled that very well. High degree of comfort in this shave. Very nice. And then if you, with many soaps, you get a little bit left over somewhere on your face. And it just doesn't take much. Just a thin film. And you could, you know, touch up all over your face as long as you got a good soap. And this is well hydrated, high quality soap. Rinse time now. I did not get as close of a cut as I did yesterday. I did go against the grain yesterday, and that just goes to show you that's a 10-use blade, and it cut me better, that particular shave. I think, you know, most workplaces would not have a problem with this level of cut, and my cheeks feel tremendous. It's almost baby butt smooth there. It's just in the soft areas, especially right here on my neck, that has some, I can see some length, just a little bit of extra length in several of the tips there. And so I could go get a little bit of lather there and try to address them and try to be light so that I don't stir up any irritation. I've got some red spots there. I wonder if could I possibly have gotten any ingrown hairs from going against the grain the other day? I don't know. I so rarely go against the grain that I haven't really dealt with the problem of ingrown hairs. That got it a little better. A little better. It's not great. But I could have stopped earlier and had pretty much the same level, but with a higher degree of comfort, which in retrospect is where I would kind of hit that. How much water have we used up so far? 25 milliliters of water. And that should equate to 5 teaspoons of water with the 80-second load on a very dry puck. And I used enough soap basically for about 4 passes, including the touch up there, and I still have enough for another pass at least. So good amount of soap there, good amount of lather. And I am feeling some of that irritation here from working that area so much. Ooh, I think that might be a weeper. Yeah, I've got some irritation. Kind of overworked that area. I went against the grain, and that's kind of what happens. That's why so often I don't chase the dragon of baby butt smooth. And I am glad that I have a liniment on hand, because this is kind of what he was made to do. And this one has a wonderful tea scent. And then you can, if you do have a thicker product, you can splash a few drops of water around on your face to kind of help it move around and distribute without as much friction and more evenly and thinly. This liniment is prized stuff from back in the day. They made it, and a lot of people like it, and then they had to stop making it. But I figured I was hoarding it too much, so I am whipping it out and using it on try to use it on a regular basis. And you can see it's quite a bit of product. I probably squeezed out too much liniment. But it wouldn't be surprised if by the end of me packing up my gear, if it ended up soaking in. And then I've got some nice, well-nourished skin. And I definitely am feeling that tenderness build up, a little bit of irritation there on my neck area. No problems here. I just worked that area so much that maybe could have helped things by a little bit more skin tightening and pulling, but sometimes if you do that, you can get ingrown hairs. So you have to find a good balance there. You don't want to over pull, over tighten your skin. I think I've had this one for so long that a lot of the scent in the upper surfaces is kind of backed off. You can lightly smell just a scent there. It's so light it's kind of hard to describe. Coconut doesn't really jump out a lot. It does have, it says al profumo di coco. Don't know what that means exactly. Stearic acid is the first ingredient, then the hydrogenated tallow, then water and potassium hydroxide, glycerin. Got a little bit of talc in there. I bet that provides a little bit of that powdery scent. But it's very faint. Yeah, that's tricky. How to describe that scent? It's so faint. I'm not exactly sure. It's almost like it's playing tricks on my brain. I don't know what I'm smelling. I want to put a bit of a plug in for this sampler I mentioned to you guys a few times. It's the Saponificio Veracino Aftershave Splash. I think it does have glycerin, and it actually has a lot of other ingredients in it. Some that seem like they're very nice and natural and nourishing, but in my eye, I don't know what good ingredients there are and bad ones. However, I can tell you a couple of things. It spreads on really nicely. I think that glycerin really helps it to have just a little bit of thickness, and the strength of the scent is the big thing that has shown itself off to me as I've used these. And what I'm doing is I don't use them after the shave, since I shave at night. What I do is I put them on in the morning, and then I'm able to enjoy the scent. The Desert Vetiver lasted for like 10 hours. So this is a high duration product, and I'm probably using, if I had a bottle of this stuff, this is probably twice as much as I might normally use. But still, just wanted to say, this little sample pack from Saponificio Veracino, I am just thoroughly enjoying it. I have learned that I don't like a couple of the scents in the strength that they come in. I like them maybe for the first 10 minutes, and they I get tired of them. I'm like, I don't really want to be smelling this anymore. You know, it's too rich, almost like fudge. You don't just eat a piece of fudge like a big square of brownie or cake. You know, you nibble because it's so rich. That's kind of how these have been in terms of the scent department. Right here where these two red bumps are, and this bottom one is a weeper. Very small amount of blood coming out. I'm not even going to bother putting a product on it like the Styptic or the Almnd, because it'll stop on its own. But those are along the tendon that is on my neck here. And so undoubtedly what's happened is, as I went against the grain in that area, there's just too much pressure right there, because it's a convex surface. And so as the blade came over, it raked across the top instead of being able to divide its pressure on a flat piece of skin. And that's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes you can fix that by coming at it from different angles. You know, instead of riding the peak, riding the ridge all the way up, sometimes you can stick with a cross grain instead of against the grain. So there's some different strategies you can use. The tendon, the bit over here that comes from the side under my ear and that comes down, used to give me some problems, but I've somehow managed to, I think it's one of those cases where if this is the ridge, I'll shave up to it, and then I'll shave up to it from the other side. And so I'm never going over the ridge like that. I'm always kind of coming up to it like that. And that usually seems to work pretty well for me. And you kind of have to tackle each of those type of facial features individually, and just throw everything at them you have, take turns, and try different things to figure out which gives you the most amount of comfort and the best cutting that makes you feel good about that. You know, play around with it. All right, guys, we are good. And yeah, sure enough, you see there is a little bit of glisten to my face, but by and large, it has absorbed into my skin. Man, I might just have healthy skin when I get old because of this shaving hobby. I never put on lotion before. This balm. And also, hey, you know what I keep forgetting? If you've got extra balm on your fingers, extra lotion, balm, whatever, put it on your forehead. Put it in the back of your neck, your elbows, other places that need that kind of nourishment. Just put it where you need it. Well, to be honest, I kind of expected the feather blade to be a little more smooth than I got, but it was the first use. And so I'm very interested in putting a few more uses on this blade in this razor and seeing how things change. It was very comfortable, like I was saying. I did feel the edge of the cutting a little bit on that first pass, as I was working that, but it was comfortable, no tugging, a nice shaving feeling. And it was only when I was just really working this area a lot that, and I would call it stealth irritation, because at the time I felt like I had the freedom to do that, but I didn't, because then after everything was said and done, then the irritation comes in. All right, but we'll get that blade smoothed out and we'll see if we still have that issue. I'm actually very curious about putting more blades in this razor and see if I have different results than I did maybe 2 years ago when I was playing around with this razor, would be my guess. All right, guys, I think we're good. I wish you guys all the best, and I hope there's been something in this video to help you guys out. I'm working on putting together a series of videos for new guys and have them be very granular. Maybe put a link on my website with an outline and all the different videos, so that there's not something big and long, and if pieces need to be replaced, they can, instead of having to redo the whole video. Newbie questions and things like that. So listen, hey, you guys are a resource. I want to try to address just so many of the top newbie questions. So put them in the comments, because so many times they are repeats, and somebody may come up with something. I'm going to do my own research and scan some of the question areas in different forums and websites and gather up that research myself. I mean, I know a bunch of them already, but I do like to try not to miss a big gap, a big section of them. And that's a good thing about doing it in a granular way, because if I do miss something, I can just add in a quick little granular video about that particular thing and fill in the gaps, right? If you want, put it in the column, put in the comments there, a question that you had when you were a noob, and we'll see if we can especially the top ones, especially the ones that just everybody seems to have, right? We can try to address those and get people help quickly. That would be great. All right, guys, take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.